Well, this is a video that I certainly would never want to make, and that's unfortunate that I have to make it, but I made a mistake when I bought this 2002 Chevy Silverado, and I'll explain it in this video. It's really not the truck's fault, it's the fault of the previous owner. So first of all, a lot of my videos are going to be delayed because of issues I had with this truck, which is why you won't see the Dodge Dakota until at least next week, at least. But oh well, there's nothing I can do about that. So in the meantime, I'll give you a video on this. So this truck was listed for $6,000 down in Connecticut. I'm in Vermont, so I drove about maybe 2 hours, 15 minutes down to Connecticut to take a look at it. I gave it a really good look over as best as I could, but unfortunately there's a lot of things you can't see unless you have a lift. And of course I was just crawling underneath it, and I missed a few things. Now the Craigslist advertisement said $6,000 guaranteed to pass inspection, no known issues, runs and drives perfectly. Now that was perfect for me because I needed a truck immediately. I couldn't spend a bunch of time fixing it up or anything because I had a bunch of cars that I needed to tow around, and I just needed an overall good working work truck, which was what this looked like. Anyway, when I got down there, I should have immediately walked away after the bad omen. It broke down on the test drive. The transmission cable fell off the transmission, and I didn't think it was a big deal. I just put it back on the transmission and used that to help talk down the price. I ended up buying this truck for $4,250, which is a good, that's a good price for this truck. So anyway, after paying the guy $4,250, he gave me the title. It was a clean title. I drove it home, and up until this point, the guy had told me that he was a mechanic, and he had done all the repairs himself. He had done, I forget what he said, tie rods, ball joints, brakes, all sorts of stuff. But when I got it home and I got it underneath the pit, I don't mean to be rude, but it was very evident that this guy did not really know what he was doing when it came to repairs. So he had used the wrong type of fuel line for the fuel line. It wasn't fuel rated. The transmission lines, instead of repairing them, he just put little rubber hoses over the spots where it rusted through. And this transmission runs at 200 PSIs and even more in reverse. He said he had replaced the tie rods, however he'd done it wrong, so there was still a bunch of play in it. He said he'd done the ball joints. He had not done the ball joints. He said he'd done the exhaust manifolds. He'd only done the passenger side exhaust manifold, left the driver's side still undone, and the driver's side was leaking quite a bit. He said he did brake lines and brakes. He put on the brake lines so badly, I can't even fathom. So he used the incorrect brackets for the brake lines, and then the way he routed them is just, I don't understand how he thought that that was gonna work. It was, they were rubbing on the suspension components. They just were routed like a tangled mess. And now here's the worst and extremely dangerous part of the whole thing. So the brake on this, there's a brake light controller up here. Now this brake light controller, you press this in, it flips a switch and that turns on the brake light. And this also controls cruise control, the lock-up torque converter. So yeah, it controls the brake lights, the torque converter, and the cruise control. So you guys see this little pin here? This is where the brake sits on this pin, and then it pushes this push rod back here to use the master cylinder. He didn't have this bracket holding the brake pedal onto the push rod, and as I was driving down a really bumpy dirt road, the bracket came off of the brake pedal, and I had absolutely no brakes because the push rod wasn't being pushed by anything. So I had to downshift, and just luckily I was on an empty road and I came to a stop and I put it back on, and I couldn't believe what I saw. There was no bracket on it, and this entire brake controller was just off the whole system. So the guy clearly just placed the push rod on and didn't even tell me. Next, he didn't tell me that there was a check engine light that comes on at above 70 miles an hour. So at above 70 miles an hour, the check engine light comes on and it flashes for a misfire code, and that was because there was water in the fuel. I prefer you to be honest than just lie and try to get a better price. I would have still paid $42.50 if he told me that, but he didn't, and that frustrated me. Moral of the story of that is beware of who's selling to you. I thought that this guy was going to be honest. However, he turned out to be a bit of a sleazeball. And since I thought he was going to be honest, I didn't look it over as thoroughly as I should have. Especially since I paid $4,000 for this truck, which is the most I've ever paid for a truck, actually. So this truck ended up leaving me stranded on the side of the road a couple of weeks ago when I was picking up that free Pontiac Firebird, which if you guys haven't seen that video, go check it out. You'll see when this truck leaves me stranded, excuse me. What ended up happening was the trans line that he had repaired wrong with the not rated lines, that ended up busting, and it spewed transmission fluid all over the place, left me totally stranded. I had to get a tow back, and it cost me a lot of time, and it cost me the $85 for the tow as well. So thus far I've put in over $2,000 into sorting this thing out completely, and that includes fluid filming and sanding down the frame. I even have a video on that one. But yeah, I've got this truck totally sorted out now. We got new control arms. Everything I mentioned in this video that was wrong with it is fixed. You can see here, new control arms, new ball joints, the lot, and alignment. It's got everything. So I have no fear that this is going to be a great truck now that I've actually repaired it the right way, unlike the other owner who just botched everything together. So I'm sure it's going to be a great truck, but I've decided to sell it because it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Every time I look at it, I just get frustrated by what I thought I was getting and then what I actually got. And of course, it's now a much better truck, so whoever I sell it to is going to get a great deal, because I'm just going to sell it for break-even price. So I'm going to list it for whatever, $6,500, take $6,000 for it. So if anybody's interested, go ahead and Instagram DM message me, and you can have a great totally sorted truck, new trans line, new ball joints, new brake lines, new fuel lines, everything I mentioned. Anyway, apologies for the rant, but I have to explain why I'm selling it, why my videos are delayed, etc. So what I'm doing is I'm going back to my old philosophy, and that was I like to buy cheap trucks and then I fix it myself, so I know that I fixed it the right way and that I'll have a good truck, instead of buying a more expensive truck that somebody else botches, which is what happened with this one. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you get one that somebody fixed really well, sometimes you don't. Anyway, like I said, I'm reverting back to my old philosophies. So what I'm going to do is I'm headed down to Boston tomorrow morning. I'm going to buy a $1,000 1989 Chevy 3500 dually with a bad transmission in it. It's only 1,000 bucks. It's clean. It's got a bad transmission. It's got the 7.4 engine. I'm gonna head down there, drive that back home. It's stuck in second gear. I'm driving it all the way back home. I don't care what you safety folks say. I'm doing it. I'm not towing it back. I'm gonna throw in a good used transmission in that thing, and I'm gonna be using that as my work truck from now on. So I hope you guys understand why I'm doing this. I think that you'll actually be happy with my decision, because you guys like the older stuff, as do I. I'm very familiar with the GMT 400 platform, so should be able to throw a trans in there no issue, and have a good reliable truck that I'll know a lot about, and I'll feel comfortable driving it around. We're doing 40 miles an hour on the interstate. It is what it is. It's a beautiful truck. It really is a sharp looking truck. So I'll probably be home in about 5 hours, just, you know, nice and slow, take her easy all the way back. Got the hazards on, just in a slow lane. It is what it is, but I'll show you the truck when we get back. Just got some gas. Here's your first sneak peek at the truck. I'll show you it some more later, but filled it up. All right, now let's see if we can get back home. Starts right up. Okay, about 3 hours later, I've arrived at this car wash, about 20 miles from home. Just want to clean it off because you can see it has all this grime and pollen on it. I think it'll look nice once it's clean. So let's go ahead and give it a wash, see how it looks, and then drive the rest of the way home. There it is after the car wash. It's a pretty sharp looking truck. If only it had more gears than just second. Anyway, let's get it home. Got about a half hour left to go. I've been on the road for maybe 3 hours now, but yeah, get back home and I'll show you more. And after 3.5 hours of driving at 35 miles an hour on the interstate, I am back home. So here it is at home. I'll give you a walk around of it. Like I said, this is a 1989 GMC K3500. It's 4-wheel drive. I bought it for $1,000. It needs a new transmission, or needs something done to this transmission because it won't shift out a second. It does still have reverse, so maybe we can do something to this one, get it to keep shifting. But here's the walk around. I'll just give you the quick walk around. So you can tell it's got the fifth wheel tailgate on. Could be why the transmission is struggling a little bit. He was probably pulling pretty heavy trailers with it if it's got the fifth wheel tailgate on, but the engine still runs awesome, so not too concerned. Do I need a dually? No, probably not, but are dualies awesome? Yes, they are, so I don't mind it. So these front tires here are new and they're pretty aggressive, but the back tires unfortunately all need replacing. Take a look on the interior. This truck is the SLE interior, which is a pretty high-end trim. So as you can see, it's got electric windows. This actually works. The lock, unlock works on the passenger side. Let's take a look at the gauges. So it has 156,000 miles on it. Go ahead and start it up for you. Take a listen. Starts pretty good. It's got a working radio, as you can see. The climate control system is currently not working. It might be a fuse or something worse. I'm not sure yet. Got the tape player here. Got the glove box here. You know, a simple interior. Next thing I'm going to do after I replace the transmission or do whatever I need to do with the transmission in this is I'm going to get these seats out of here, because these are super duper uncomfortable. They killed me on the way home. Anyway, we got back seats there too. But yeah, these were a little too firm for my liking. So here's what we got under the hood. This is a 454. This is a TBI 454, so it's not as powerful as the Vortec ones, but still all right. It's a bit of a gas guzzler, but it's a good engine. Now here's the great thing about this truck. This is a 89, and this body style unfortunately was very bad at rust prevention, let's say. So the frames are only wax coated, and the steel, the body steel is galvanized, but still rusted through pretty badly for some reason. Take a look at these original rocker panels. The only rust is right here. Can you guys see that? It's just starting to rust through here. Other than that, these are all solid the whole way back. So you take a look at this frame rail underneath here. See how it's not even starting to scale yet? And you can see this is the original wax coating is still on in a lot of places. So that's very clean for New England. Very, very clean. Same with this side over here, as you can see. So this truck has an aftermarket exhaust on it. I'll go ahead and rev it up for you so you can hear. I'm not sure how your angle is. She sounds pretty mean. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know what you guys think about my decision to sell the other truck and get this one instead. And I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.